Okay, I believe, Karen, did you have something you wanted to say before we started? Okay, at this time, we do not have any public comments.
Okay. And we have here are the three of us that are the appeals board, Stephen Milich and Kent Glenzer and myself. And I try and serve as chairman on this. And this will be the appeal by Mr. King of the Forestry Division denial for the removal of one Monterey pine tree at 34 Deer Stalker Path. And I do open up with saying this is an informal hearing and formal rules of evidence do not apply. And the board may consider any evidence or information deemed relevant and reasonably reliable. So I believe the next city attorney statement.
Thank you. So I just want to state for the record, I'm here to advise the board, and I've had no contacts with the city forester or the forestry department regarding this matter. I'm purely an advisor to the board. And with that, if the board members have any ex parte contacts, discussions with the appellant or anyone like that, that they want to disclose for the record, now would be the time.
Would you please state your name for the record, Karen?
Thank you. I'm sorry. I should have done that. You're right. I am the Assistant City Attorney, Karen Salama. Hopefully it also says my name up there. I don't know.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay, so Justin, we move on to your staff presentation as the
Well,
city
were there
forester.
any ex parte contacts? Anyone go to the site? No. I'm seeing a lot of no's. Okay. Just want to state that for the record.
I did drive by the site yesterday just to get a visual image of what's going on, but just to drive by, look.
Okay.
Sort of a drive-by media.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for this one, I don't have as a formal presentation as some of the past appeals, but really my denial was based on the arborist report that was submitted was very light on any supporting evidence, no discussion of how they determine the root plate separation, which is a very vague term. There was a presence of surface roots, which on a Monterey pine is very common. I did probe the soil to look for any signs of shifting. We look for pockets of air, essentially, or loose areas that are indications that the tree has moved or become uprooted in any way. So total tree failure is pretty small. I believe the board will have seen the photos that I did submit. I could share those with you if you've not seen them. But really you can see that tree, the form of it overall has a sturdy trunk. It is a tall tree, but pretty good branch distribution. It's been pruned impeccably, better than most Monterey pine trees. So there's a moderate risk for some limb failure on one or two limbs, but that can be I guess risk can be mitigated by that continual pruning that has gone on and kept that tree at low risk of failure. So risk of total tree failure, very low, or at least low. Risk of limb falling and wind, moderate, but could be reduced by pruning.
Okay, and we have all received all the reports and reviewed them thoroughly before the meeting. And Justin, I guess we should say that you have approved one tree noted as 848 to be removed. And so we're dealing with only one tree of the original application identified as tree 847.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. King, now is your opportunity to discuss it. Yes.
Well, wait a minute.
Daryl, can I ask Justin a couple of questions, or
Sure.
should we wait?
No, let's now.
You can ask questions.
All right. Two questions, Justin. One is the fact that you approved one of those trees to be removed and the other not. Can you just explain to me the difference between those two trees and what made you decide one was needing removal, the other one wasn't? Just broadly speaking,
Yeah.
what's the difference? And then my second question is the appellant, sent some additional information prior to the meeting in which he provides a photo of the leaning tree as it relates to his patio, and he says that the tree has over 15 years has impinged upon that little by little, and the photo that he sent seems to be compelling on that in that regard. My question on this is, does that kind of a gradual lean over 15 years mean anything to you?
So as far as the first question, the other tree did have a large structural limb fail. That was the initial request for the arborist report, was in relation to that tree, because the initial submittal was just a limb failure. Some more photos and what Mr. Ono presented there showed that tear out left the rest of that tree compromised structurally, and also the health outcome for that tree is not likely to, even if it weren't going to fail more, it's not likely to live very long. So it's unreasonable to ask Mr. Kang to retain that tree. The second tree, the lean, I did not get a chance to review what Mr. Kang submitted. The photos I submitted, I think if you see from the street, there is actually not a significant lean towards the house. If anything, possibly even a slight lean away from the house. In any case, not a lean that would be predictive of what direction it could fail. To me, it's just as likely to fail in any direction as it is to fall on Mr. Kang's house. If it's encroaching on the deck, I believe that's due to growth, not due to lean. And again, is the lean related to just physiological growth, growing towards the sun, or is it due to structural issues? There's nothing in the bole of the tree, nothing noted in Mr. Ono's report in the bole of the tree that showed there's any failure, as a compromised wood that would create that lean. I didn't find anything in the roots either that showed it was a root failure. And with a tree of that size, when there's root failure, it's pretty obvious quickly if there's been soil disturbance or soil movement.
Okay,
I have some questions.
please.
Justin, how old is that tree, and how many more years can we expect it to be in good health?
It's hard to give an age with trees. It could have rapidly grown. It's a mature tree, so I'd say that it's reached kind of its maximum height, and the latter portion of its life. In the current health that it's at now, it's easy to say that 10 years, 15 years more, possibly more or less, just depending on site conditions with drought and things like that. Trees are having a hard time. When I inspected, no signs of beetle attack, no signs of crown dieback or decline. So I'm sort of like asking how much longer are all of us going to live? It's subject to lots of different things. I saw no signs that the tree was in that stage of decline that I would choose to cut it down. We're in a city
And it's
tree.
growing up through the deck of the house.
Growing up next to the deck of the house. But is it going to increase significantly in diameter for the rest of its life or grow much more? No, that stage of its life has come to an end.
Thank you. That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Okay, good. Any more questions of Justin? Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kang, thank you for being here, and we're open to your thoughts and comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe can I have a share so that I can just show you the picture again? And I'm sure that you already have the copy of the picture, but if you can give me a share of that.
Alicia, can you enable the screen share?
Yeah. That's what,
Okay, yeah, I think I have already. Can you see this?
yes.
Okay, so this is 847, 848. Yeah, I already removed this one. Yeah, Mr. Prouty gave me a permit. So right after that, I immediately removed this one, 848. And 847, this is the one I'm trying to get the removal permit. So this is the picture. I took it on July 15 when I removed the 848 tree. And as you can see here, the straight line on the floor, I took it straight line perpendicular house. And now you see that lean toward the house. If you look at the tree from the street side, probably it may not be obvious. Okay, but it's leaning toward that. And going to the next one, yeah, this is a picture that Mr. Ono took from the behind that house. And this apparently, yeah, you can see the lean, and the comment was made by him. The tree leans toward the house, and you can see this picture in his report, Alvarez report, on page 8. Okay, so the tree leans toward the house. And Mr. Prouty said that the chance of failure of this tree is low. And I mean, I'm not an expert, so I cannot argue one way or another. However, the chance may be low, but he did not consider the impact and consequences of failure. Even if the chances of failure may be low, the damage could be catastrophic. I have all the bedrooms right here, and there's a garage here, and in case it falls toward the house, I mean, it can be any direction. So I mean, but since it's leaning toward the house, so my guess is probably higher chance of falling close to the house, then in which case all the bedrooms are here. And so this is potential catastrophic damages. I mean, I'm a volunteer Monterey CERT team, the Citizens Emergency Response Team, and I know the city spends a lot of resources to minimize the catastrophic damages, okay, in case such a very low likelihood disasters like earthquake or high wind storm. And the best way is to minimize the potential the damages is to remove root causes. Okay. And this tree has been very well maintained. I regularly hire a professional for tree inspection. And in June, that was June 2020, about a little more than a year ago, I hired a tree service and have them actually trim big branches, big limb. So that was only about a year ago. And about 3 months ago, last May, I think May 20th, there's a very windy day. A large limb, failed, as Mr. Prouty explained. So then that damaged the house. And as you can see here, this is what happened from right here. It hit the edge of my the gutters. So it just damaged the gutters and just a partial minor damage on the roof here and also the deck here. But if it had fallen 1 or maybe 2 feet toward the house, it could have been a total failure of the house. Big major damage right here. And underneath is, these are the bedrooms here. Okay. And so that could be a potential, injuries. And after incidents, I feel very uncomfortable on a windy days, and I'm concerned what could happen in the next major windstorm, high windstorm. Okay. So here, and let me see, that's this one. And also, one more thing is, this is 15 years ago, just to clarify this, because Justin probably didn't see this one. I showed him, we discussed this before when he visited my house. So it used to be the square shape, and about 15 years ago, I hired a contractor, and then I cut the edge and make an L shape. And this is the amount, I mean, this shows how much it leaned toward the house. Okay. So I can't argue one way or another as a non-professional how healthy the tree is, but apparently this is a very old tree. And as Mr. Crowley mentioned, yeah, this could live another decade or two. Yeah, you never know. Okay. But it's a very old tree anyways. And I know this city of Monterey is trying to protect the environment, and which I very much appreciate. And I'm an avid hiker and biker, and I live very close to the Jacks Peak Park, where I hike all the time. And we have a lot of beautiful trees. But as a longtime Monterey resident, also the city is also doing a great job for the safety of its residents. And now the real decision is, the city needs to, weigh the environmental benefit of keeping this old aging tree versus the safety of its resident by removing that particular tree. And yeah, since it's an old tree, and yeah, if I get a permit, then I will definitely replant a new tree. So it seems to me a pretty straightforward risk management case. So yeah, on the evidence with this, I'm asking the board to approve for removal permit for safety of me and my family. So thank you for listening.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I have one. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the photos. Thank you for all of the words you actually said about the city's concerned with emergency response and prevention and your love of nature. So thank you for all of that. My question is kind of a subjective one,
Yes.
Mr. Kang, and it's I wonder if you can talk to us a little bit about the level of anxiety in your family at this point, and how many family members do you have living at the house, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh yeah, right now, me and my wife, but two of my daughters, and I have grandchildren living in the Bay Area. So they frequently visit here. And during the pandemic lockdown, actually, they spent 6 months with us. And we have a frequent visit. And it's right here. And here is their bedrooms right here. And fortunately, on the day that big limb failed, my grandchildren were not here. Their house, room was right underneath. And I actually haven't told my daughter about this incident yet, because she could be potentially freaked. So, having the big tree right under their bedroom, right here.
And
So,
you've been pruning this tree in question, tree 847, for
yes,
regularly. Is that correct?
Yes, very correct. And the last time I pruned was June 2020, about a year and a little more than a year ago.
And is it, but you've never asked to have this tree removed before?
Actually, I did that. That was actually about 15 years ago. Steve Morton was the tree forester at that time. At that time, yeah, that was about the time that when I cut the edge here. So I asked, and at that time I got a removal permit of 2, the other trees, the other side of the house. So we actually removed the 2 trees, but not this one. So that was about 15 years ago. And then after that, when was that? Yeah, then I hired guys. Even I forgot the name, probably Iverson or Then they said that then I constantly asked them, can I remove this one? Then you need a permit, but the cities are very picky. That's what they say. So you may or may not be able to remove it. So I didn't pay much attention until the last incident when the big limb failed. But then all of a sudden, I felt like I had to remove this, especially for the safety. Only my wife and I live here, but as I mentioned, my grandchildren visit all the time.
I detect a great deal of anxiety there.
Yes, yeah. Think about this. Look at this. It's right here, and this diameter is about 8 inches right here. This is not a small one. This is almost like a tree. This is a limb from 848.
Okay.
Justin, from from your perspective, sorry, I'm going to jump over to Justin just for a second. So can you just give me your opinion on the, I guess I'll call it the trade-off environmentally, if you will, or from the ecology of the tree ecosystem in this neighborhood. Can you give me your opinion on a trade-off between a mature, healthy tree for the next 10 to 15, and as you say, who knows? Who knows that prediction versus a couple of new trees that might contribute to the ecosystem and the environment for the next 30 or 40 years. I don't know if that question makes any sense to you.
Yeah, so really when I assess any removal permit, really, especially when the cause for the application is related to tree health and safety, I just look at the veracity of that and kind of what I think. So the benefit of these large, mature, healthy trees is that helps natural regeneration. That tree is continually producing cones, putting out pollen. Excuse me, sorry, my office phone going off here. So it's benefiting overall. Now, is the loss of one Monterey pine tree, a huge blow to the community, especially here? No, I wouldn't make that argument. The benefit is that, and really what I'm looking at is it a healthy tree? Are the causes for concerns for health and safety, are they legitimate? And while I appreciate Mr. Kang lives there under that tree and on a windy day, that is it's concerning to him. I can't really look at that when I'm doing my assessment.
That's why we're here.
I would add, and I've said this before, as a architectural photographer, and I have done all the photographs for our buildings in the past, once you tilt a camera up, it accentuates the lean. And I think this view here is a good view of the lean. Earlier photographs show it leaning strongly, but that's because the camera is tilted up. And I think this particular view of this picture shows more the correct lean. And I would say if you look in any Monterey pine forest, you always have leaning trees. The Monterey pines do not grow vertical. They tend to move to get more sunlight for their top and other things like that. So to me, leaning is not an issue here.
I just wanted to see if there were any more board questions for the applicant before we go to public comment, and then the board can have its discussion.
Okay. Any more thoughts or questions or comments?
For the applicant? No? Okay. Should we move to public comment then?
Okay.
Okay, at
Go
this
ahead.
time, we do not have any public comments.
Okay. On our procedures, normally we give the applicant or the appellant a chance for a final rebuttal before we bring it to the board for discussion.
Yeah, so
Okay.
just not, I mean, it's not a rebuttal, but just, I mean, the major reason this bill is the safety, basically. And so the chance of failure may be low. And I mean, this is a beautiful tree, and I'm sure that there's a lot to do with the value of my house, and as well as the value of the properties around. But on the other end, this is a great concern, especially after the big limb fell on the roof of my house. So that creates a great deal of anxiety. So for the safety reasons and for the safety of my family, I'm respectably asking the board to give me an approval to remove. And definitely I will. I mean, it's part of the ordinance, I believe, that to replant, to replace the remover trees anyways. So in the old tree like this, in next 10, maybe 20 years, needs to be replaced anyways. So that's that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kang. Our Board members, any thoughts or discussion?
Yeah, I do. We're looking at a situation here where Justin, the city forester, as you said, looks at the health of the tree. We're here not really to second guess his opinion, but it's in addition to his opinion, there are things we consider that he doesn't, such as anxiety, the health of the forest. If this tree is removed, what will it do to it? We can replace a tree, but we can't replace a person. It's as you can tell, I'm struggling with this. But I think when push comes to shove, I would vote to grant Mr. King his permit to remove that tree. Thank you.
Okay. Kent, any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I think I just want to echo sort of the analysis of the situation that Stephen sort of outlined for us. I really concur with kind of the framing of where we are. And I'm also thinking about, and again, none of us are scientists. Justin's the only scientist here when it comes to this stuff. But we're allowed to consider forms. We're allowed to consider forms of evidence that are informal and so on and so forth. And I guess, one of the things that's in my mind is this drought that we're in and what it's doing. We don't even know really what it's doing to the resiliency of the trees and our ecosystem and so on and so forth. And it's in my head for some reason. This is a very healthy tree. That seems clear. I mean, from all indications, but the combination of excessive weather patterns that we're experiencing, high winds, drought, and that's playing in my mind, even though I can say to myself, scientifically, that's a healthy tree, so none of that should necessarily matter. But anyways, I am very empathetic to the subjective psychology, anxiety of living in this house. And if I were in the house, and I'm also, I just admire a lot, again, the care that the appellant has taken with this tree over a couple of decades. And I think all of that just makes me inclined to side with the appellant on this one.
Okay, thank you. I'm struggling. I think it's not. I don't consider it a mature tree. It's grown to its full height, but it has a lot more life left in it. And in terms of drought, I'm in charge of our facilities at Living Hope Church, which is right down the street from this. We've cut down 5 trees, but they were clearly dead from the drought. And this, in my mind, doesn't show any problems with the drought. But I also understand the anxiety. I grew up right on Mar Vista Drive before Skyline Forest was built, and I've seen those trees. I played there. I lived there. I walked my dog up there. And sometimes trees fall down. So I appreciate your comments and understand about the anxiety of that large of a tree that close. So I'm a little bit torn, but are we ready to make a motion?
I move that the permit be granted.
Okay.
So if I may, I would just suggest a friendly amendment that this appeal be conditionally granted, based on the findings of the high level anxiety caused, but that staff would still need to perform the CEQA analysis in order to comply with the California Environmental Quality Act. And so once staff has an opportunity to complete the environmental analysis for removal, then staff will bring that back to the board to review. Ultimately, CEQA analysis approval may only be given by the Planning Commission or the City Council. So, Mr. King, I wanted to advise you of that aspect of this.
What is the timeline on that, Karen?
I don't have a specific timeline. The planning office is incredibly understaffed right now. And in this instance, because it's a mature, healthy tree, I can tell you it is unlikely it will qualify for any exemptions, and will need to go through an initial study and then a mitigated negative declaration in all likelihood. So that is not a quick process.
May I ask, what is the status of the one that we approved last meeting? That was-
My understanding in that instance is the planning office had reached out to Ms. Armbrust and spoke, at least left her several messages. I know she had travel plans, but she may be pursuing the alternative in that instance of having a development permit application to widen her driveway, and then have the tree removal as part of that development application. And so then it's reviewed through that process as opposed to through a single tree removal process.
All right, so we don't have any idea how long it would take for, if we approve this for how conditionally, how long it would take for Mr. King to get his permit. That sort of defeats the whole process, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know that not being able to give you a date defeats the whole process. I guess that's an interpretation.
Well, my concern is I'm a little bit concerned about stuff falling in the cracks and staying there. So,
Well, unfortunately, this is state law that the city is required to comply with.
gotcha,
So.
gotcha. Yeah, you're not up for recall.
So if the board would consider making the amendment to that motion, I think that's where we left it.
I amend my motion accordingly, yes.
May I ask one question? I'm sorry, but is it okay? Question. So
Yes.
the removal permit, Mr. Proudy gave me on 8/48. Doesn't that need any environmental study, or how does it work?
So
No,
when the forester determines that a tree is dead, dying, or imminently dangerous, in those instances, no, it doesn't. It qualifies for an exemption. Here, our forester, an expert in this situation, has determined this is a mature, healthy tree not posing a danger. And so that determination has been made by an expert in his field, and therefore additional environmental review is required.
Okay, and this is actually a dumb question, but now the city is asking me to hire a certified arborist, and I paid about $400. And he mentioned that he's so how does it work that arborist certified arborist opinion? So there's that it doesn't count. He's licensed, and
I am not aware. I don't know if Justin wants to speak to his request for an arborist report. I didn't request that, but the city has to go by its own expert. And
Yes.
Justin's report also discussed why he thought that expert's arborist report was not sufficient.
No, yeah, I understand that. The city has the final authority, but then again, since city is making final authority, why are you making an additional barrier for the resident? So I had to pay money extra. So far, I already spent about $600 or $700 for the permit and hearing and all the things. Okay, and especially the it's hiring a certified arborist that costs $300, almost $400, and so the recommendation was, I'm not an expert, so I cannot interpret the result. So it's about 16-page document, and which you have a copy.
Mr. King, I'm as frustrated as you are, but according to our legal opinion, that's state law. So
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I've been working for the United States government for the last 30 years, and I was part of the bureaucracy.
No, you're never out of the bureaucracy.
No, I was part of it. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
Is there a second to the motion?
Yeah, I second the motion as amended by the city attorney.
Okay.
Okay, so call for the vote.
Okay, we'll have a roll call. Vice Chair Milich,
Yes.
Chair Hawkins,
Yes.
and Board Member Glenzer.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is passed 3-0.
Thank you.
And Mr. Kang, now you enter a whole new world of bureaucracy.
All right.
So Mr. King, I will say, I think you can expect our staff, the city attorney's office staff will notify the planning office of the results of the hearing, and that CEQA review will be required for this. And so you can expect you'll likely hear from someone in our planning office.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Okay, and anyway, thank you, Justin. Yeah, for your professionalism, and I understand. Yeah, your position. So
Yeah, and I understand your position as well. It's, you live there, so I get it.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank
Okay,
you, Mr. Kang, for showing up. We appreciate your time.
yes.
thank you very much, y'all board members and attorneys.
Okay, if you'd like,
Anything
you
else
can
we
sign
need
off now.
to?
We still have more meeting left, but if you'd like, sir, you
Okay.
can sign off.
Okay, so I'll sign off. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Bye bye. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
That's it for me, right?
Yeah, that's it for you too, Justin. You can sign off
Right.
as well. We won't hold
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks for your work, Justin.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, any board member comments?
I just would like to make it plain and clear that I wasn't attacking, and nobody would here would be attacking Justin's professionalism
Right.
or his opinion. It's just that we're given additional criteria to judge an application that he doesn't have. Okay, so when we do it, it's not because he was wrong in his professional opinion. It's because of the fact we have additional things to take into consideration. And I respect his opinion. I think he's doing a good job, but
Yes.
you know, our job is different.
Yes.
Well said.
Good. I appreciate that. Yes, I agree. Anything else we need to talk about or hear?
Well, I was mentioning earlier at the beginning of the meeting, I hope this is the last Zoom edition we'll be doing. I haven't had any requests for an appeal right now, but hopefully the next one that comes down will be in person. Maybe with
Good.
one caveat of maybe a couple of us appearing by Zoom, but for the most
Where-
part, we should be in person.
Where would that happen?
At the city council chambers is where we normally meet in
Oh,
person.
okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay, anything else? I think that's it.
Okay. Everybody's good. The meeting is adjourned at 10:37.